At the very inception of my lecture, I request you to mute your microphone. And if you need, you will just switch on your microphone and talk to me. Okay. So now look at this screen. Do you see this screen? Okay, I think you can see this screen. And at the very beginning, I just like to tell you something about the importance of punctuation. In Bangla, we call it Biram Chin. And punctuation mark is very, very essential if you want to make sense what you say, if you want to make your sentences sensible, or if you want to carry your meanings correctly, or if you want to be audible to your audience, and finally, if you want to be a good orator, a good speaker, you must use punctuation marks in proper places of the sentences. If your punctuation marks are not properly used, you will create a disaster for your audience, and your audience will laugh at you. Suppose we need a full stop at a particular place of a sentence, but by mistake, you have missed that very full stop. Then what will happen? Then you will find that the meaning is totally different, and your audience is confused. For that reason, punctuation is a very, very essential part in what you say. Like grammar, punctuation is equally important. And for that reason, people say that punctuation is as important as the knowledge of grammar. As your grammatical knowledge is essential for making correct sentence, similarly, your punctuation marks are essential to make correct sentence or to give proper meaning of the sentences that you use. Okay. So anyway, I just like to read these lines for your sake so that you can understand the importance of punctuation mark. First of all, just look at this screen, and for your sake, I am reading it. For your sake, I just like to read it. Punctuation is an essential part of the expressive system of a language. So it's an essential part. Punctuation marks are visual indicators. Punctuation marks are visual indicators used in formal or informal writing or printed text in order to make sentence meaning clear. So if you want to be clear to your audience, then you must use correct punctuation. Its basic purpose is to separate. Your one idea will be separated from another idea. Your previous idea will be separated from the impending idea or the next idea. So ideas are separated by the use of proper punctuation. Then connection, you can connect two clauses or you can connect two ideas by the use of proper punctuation mark. Suppose it is also used to omit a conjunction. Suppose you want to delete a conjunction from the middle of two clauses, then you may replace that conjunction with a semicolon. Okay, suppose he is good and his brother is also good. If you want to connect these two sentences, he will say he is good, then semicolon, and again he will say his brother is also good, or his brother is good as well. So in this way, punctuation in some places may function as a replacement of conjunction. So just think of its importance in a sentence. Then punctuation is based on grammar because it is related with different grammatical devices. So punctuation is as important as your knowledge of grammar. If you think that your knowledge of grammar is only essential and you need not learn punctuation, then you will always be confusing to your audience. Your audience will not understand you, or you will not be able to make any sense of what you say to your audience. For that reason, punctuation is very, very essential while you speak or while you write anything. The wrong use or absence of punctuation. If you use punctuation wrongly, or if you do not use punctuation where necessary, then what will happen? It may lead serious misunderstanding or confusion. It may lead you to serious misunderstanding. Okay. It may lead you to serious misunderstanding. So for that reason, if you want to be audible to your audience, or if you want to avoid misunderstanding or confusion, then you must use punctuation properly. Okay, so this is the necessity of punctuation. Now, there are 12 punctuation marks. We use 12 punctuation marks in English language. If you think of Bengali language, in Bangla, at first we had only dari, that is full stop. And comma was not a punctuation of Bangla language. While the English people came to this subcontinent, colonized us, they imposed their language and education system. Then many things we borrowed from them. Suppose comma. In Bangla language we use comma, but comma was not a Bengali punctuation mark. Comma is an English punctuation mark. But this comma has come to Bangla language from English language. So English language was and is still a very rich language in the world. So these punctuation marks, suppose the full stop, comma, semicolon, colon, question mark, exclamation mark or sign of exclamation, quotation mark, hyphen, dash, apostrophe, brackets, or parenthesis. So these are 12 punctuation marks we usually use in English language. You have to remember their names, and you have to identify, you have to know how to identify these marks. That is, how does a full stop look, or how does a comma look, or what does a semicolon look like, or what does a colon look like. So you have to identify, you should have the ability to identify these punctuation marks. All right? Now, these are the four purposes. Just look at these four purposes. These are the four purposes with which we use punctuations. These are the four basic purposes we use punctuations. Number one, when we finish our speech or when we complete our sentence, then we have to use a punctuation mark. Okay, this is very important. If our sentence is a question, then we have to give a question mark. All right. Or if our sentence is an exclamation, that is, if we express our sense of exclamation, then we have to use an exclamation mark. All right. Then another important thing, for example, comma. When should we use comma? We use comma when we give similar information or similar things one after another. Then we usually use comma. All right. Then when we try to differentiate or separate one part from another part in a sentence, then we use punctuation marks. And that very punctuation mark may be a comma, or it may be a semicolon, or it may be a dash. Okay. Then we use a punctuation mark when we express our direct speech. That is, while we do not bring about any change in what we say or what the speaker says, then we use punctuation mark. In that very case, we may use quotation mark or parenthesis. Parenthesis means some more information within brackets. Some more information. Suppose you are describing somebody or something or an incident, and if you think that you need to give some more information regarding a term or regarding a phrase, then you may give that very information within two brackets. That very information is known as parenthesis. Then you may also use brackets. So these are the four cases for which we use punctuation marks. So punctuation marks may be used in four cases. When we finish our speech, then we use punctuation mark. Then when we present something, or when we differentiate one thing from another thing in a sentence, then we use punctuation. Then if we want to differentiate one clause from another clause, then we can use punctuation mark. Or when we give our direct speech, or if we want to present information in the first person's language, that is the speaker's intact language, then we use punctuation marks, and in that very case we use punctuation marks. All right, so these are the cases in which we use punctuation marks. Now come to the use of full stop. In what particular case we use full stop? Well, first of all, I just like to tell you that you may be asked to use capital letter and at the same time punctuation. So capitalization is also to be learned. And I hope you know the use of capital letter. At the beginning of a sentence, we use capital letter. Or if it is a name of a person or a place, that is, if it is a proper noun, especially, which is usually somebody's name or some place's name, then we usually start that very word with a capital letter. All right. Or if we give a reported speech within quotation marks, then reported speech also starts with capital letter. So these are the uses of capital letter. Okay. Now come to this first rule of the use of full stop. Full stop, we use full stop at the end of a complete sentence. And when we need a full pause, then we use a full stop. Okay? And we use full stop usually after assertive sentence and imperative sentence. Okay? But if it is an interrogative sentence, then we use the sign of interrogation. If it is an optative sentence or exclamatory sentence, then we use sign of exclamation. In modern English grammar, optative sentence does not have any existence. If you read the grammar book written by Rain and Martin, High School English Grammar and Competition, this is written by Rain and Martin. And if you read this book, you will find that there the writer has said sentences are divided into 4 classes according to the meanings. Suppose assertive sentence. Assertive sentence means the narrative sentence. The sentence which asserts or which describes something is an assertive sentence. Then interrogative sentence, the sentence which questions, is an interrogative sentence. And at the end of an interrogative sentence, we use the sign of interrogation. All right. Then come to the imperative sentence. Imperative sentence usually expresses request, order, suggestion, then advice or prohibition. So these are the expressions that we find in imperative sentence. And after imperative sentence or at the end of imperative sentence, we use full stop. And Rain and Martin said, optative sentence does not have any existence. Then you may question me, then what about wish? Or what about prayer? Rain and Martin said, this prayer and wish belong to exclamatory sentence. So if you wish me good morning, if you say good morning, sir, you need not put a full stop. You will put a sign of exclamation. Remember this. Nowadays, I see, especially in Facebook or in Messenger, many people wish good morning, or many people wish New Year's celebration, or many people wish birthday, suppose happy birthday. So if you write happy birthday, then you must put a sign of exclamation, not full stop, because you are wishing the person happy birthday. And wish belongs to an exclamatory sentence. Remember this. Prayer also. Suppose, may you be happy. If you say, may you live long. May our Prime Minister live long. May our country live long. So if you wish, you will also put the sign of exclamation at the end of the sentence, not full stop. Actually, this is the modern version of the classifications of sentences on the basis of meaning. All right. Sentences, are divided into different kinds on the basis of two particular things or characteristics. One is on the basis of meaning, and the other is on the basis of structure. On the basis of structure, sentences are divided into four types: simple sentence, complex sentence, compound sentence, and last of all, number 4, complex compound sentence, or complex compound sentence. So sentences on the basis of structure are divided into four types, and sentences on the basis of meaning are divided into four kinds: assertive sentence, then interrogative sentence, imperative sentence, and exclamatory sentence. Remember, and in this very rule, there is the use of full stop. We have already said that after assertive sentence, that is at the end of assertive sentence, and at the end of imperative sentence, we use a full stop. Okay, though we have written here optative sentence, and you must know that in modern English grammar, I have already told you the name of that grammar book, High School English Grammar and Composition. This is written by Rain and Martin. In that very book, it is said that sentences are of four types according to the meaning: assertive, interrogative, imperative, and exclamative. Okay. Now come to this rule: indirect question. That is, if your interrogative sentence is transformed into indirect speech, then it will be assertive. So after assertive, you will put a full stop. Then abbreviation. Abbreviation means the short form or the contracted form of an elaborate word or elaborate name. For example, MA. M means masters. A means arts, masters of arts. So I do not use masters of arts. I use the short form of masters of arts, MA. So as M is the short form of masters, I put a full stop after this letter. And A is the short form of arts. For that reason, I put a full stop after it. Similarly, BA, Bachelor of Arts, MP, Member of Parliament, LLB, Bachelor of Law. Okay, if you study Bachelor of Law, you will have the chance to become a lawyer. Okay, then if you use the short form of a person's name, suppose PB Shelley, PB, Parsi Bishi Shelley. In our country, we use this name A.K. Fazlul Haq. Shere Bangla, you have heard the name of this great politician, A.K. Fazlul Haq. That is Abul Kashem Fazlul Haq. But I do not write here Abul. I write here A. This is the abbreviated form of Abul. Then Kashem, Kashem is a full word, but I have used the abbreviated form of Kashem, K. For that reason, K is an abbreviation of Kashem, and we should use a full stop at the end of this letter. Okay? And another thing I just like to tell you that you will find in the grammar book by Rain and Martin. Suppose Mr. Then Mrs. In present world or in modern English grammar, after Mr. and Mrs., that is after MR and MRS, we do not use a full stop. We do not use full stop. Understand? That is, you need not put a full stop after MR, or you need not put a full stop after MRS. Understand? So why? Rain and Martin has described that they have given reasons that MR, it is very widely and popularly used all over the world. And MR is so popularly used or so widely used that many people even have forgotten the word, the original word or original spelling of Mr. So whenever they see MR, they call it Mr. They need not wait for the full word or the full spelling, that is MISTER. So MR has become the whole word. The MR, that is Mr. This MR has become Mr. And Mr. has been contracted into MR. So MR, while we write MR, then we need not bother about its full spelling. Or while we write MRS, that is Mrs., we need not think of its full spelling or the whole word. So these two words are so popularly and widely used all over the world that the users, we have forgotten the spellings or the whole word of these two abbreviations. As these two abbreviations are now considered to be the whole words, for that reason we need not use full stop after MR or MRS. So I like to suggest you to read that very book. The name of the book, I just like to write this book for your sake, lest you should be confused. The name of the book is High School English Grammar and Composition. This is written by Rain and Martin. Okay, Rain and Martin. It's a very common book, and you will find this book in any bookstore. I think you will find it in Nilkhet also. It's a very common book. Okay, so I suggest you to purchase this book and read it. And if you go in contact with this authentic book, it is not a guidebook. Remember this. It is not a guidebook. You need a textbook much more than a guidebook. You need not go in contact with a guidebook, because many guidebooks misguide our students, and many guidebooks contracted the range of knowledge of our students. And you know that our government does not encourage our students to read guidebooks, and we the teachers follow the directives of our government, and we also encourage you to use the textbooks or authentic books. Okay, if you read this authentic book, I think you will learn many things that will help you now, and it will also help you in your admission test for university. Okay, so I think you will collect this book. It is not an expensive book. It may cost not more than 150, that is 150 taka, if you want to purchase a new book. But if you want to collect a second-hand book from Nilkhet, you may collect it for 60 taka or 70 taka. Okay, so I suggest you to collect this book and read it. And while reading this book, if you face any problem, if you think that it is written in English and you can't understand, I think it is a baseless fear. You will just read a sentence once or twice. Then I think you can easily make out the meanings of the sentence. because grammar book is usually written in simple English language. So you need not fear. You will just go in contact with this book, and I hope you can easily discover the treasure which is lying hidden in this text. Okay. Now come to comma, the use of comma. Comma is also a pause, but it is less than a full stop. While we use full stop, then we take a fresh breath. Okay. While we use full stop, we take a fresh breath. But while we use comma, we just hold our breath. We must not let it go, or we must not take a fresh breath. We just sustain our breath, but we should give a pause. You will give a pause, but you will not let your breath go. Understand? Or you must not take a fresh breath. You will just give a pause while holding your breath, and then go to the next part of the sentence. Just come to this example. After these adverbs, or after these connectors, for example, therefore, however, as, unfortunately, by the way, in fine, so far, certainly, of course, luckily, fortunately, in short, finally, after all, for instance, firstly, secondly, on the whole. Actually, these are connectors. Okay? These connectors are used to show the sentence's relationship with the previous part of the sentence, or with the previous idea of the previous sentence. Okay, for that reason, after these connectors, we usually use comma. All right. Now come to the example. Come to this example. Unfortunately, he missed the train. Unfortunately, he missed the train. So unfortunately is a connector. It is doing the function of an adverb. Okay. Remember that connectors are not conjunctions. Connectors are not conjunctions. Connectors are adverbs or adverbials. Okay. Remember this, because after conjunction, we do not usually use any punctuation. Suppose if you say but, or if you say and, after but, you need not put any comma. But when you say however, when you say in fine, when you say of course, then you must put a comma. Why? Because you want to be audible to your audience clearly, or you want to evade, you want to avoid what? Confusion. For that reason, we use a comma. Understand? So comma is usually used after these connectors. Now come to nominative absolute. After nominative absolute, we use a comma. Nominative absolute means it is an adverbial phrase. Nominative absolute does the function of an adverbial phrase. Adverbial phrase does the function of adverb. It gives the sense of time, it gives the sense of place, it gives the sense of manner of action. That is adverbial phrase. So after adverbial phrase, we put a comma. Suppose the son having said, comma, we restore. Or next example, the weather being fine, they started their journey. Eating rice, Shafiq went to bed. All right. So these are the examples. Understand? So if you read all these things, all these rules, we have incorporated the rules of different punctuation marks here serially. Suppose this is semicolon, then colon, and this is question mark. Then I think after reading all these things, I have written all these rules in both Bangla and English for your convenience, so that you can approach these things and digest these things easily. After that, we will make you practice some board questions. In our next class, we will discuss these board questions from our test papers. All right, from our test papers. You may have the question in the form of dialogues or in the form of a passage. You must not think that you will have the question only in the form of dialogue. It is not true. You may have the question in the form of a passage, or you may have the question in the form of a conversation. So you should be prepared for both types of question. And then while you will answer to this question, you have to copy the whole question in your answer script. This is very important. You have to copy the whole passage in your answer script with correct use of punctuations. Okay, then you will have no chance of being inscrutable to your examiners. The examiners can easily find out